Welcome to the coaching game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and look who's back.
I'm Terry Yoffe, Coaches Creating Change, and here we are.
Here we
February already. February. What can I say? It's Valentine's Day. It's the heart. It's
Black History Month. It's a busy
Black History Month. It's
busy little
President's Month.
It's going by fast. I cannot believe it's February already. It's like, oh my gosh. So we know we've been talking about change, and we know that that's our subject. We like to talk about change.
Creating change.
Yeah. But now we wanted to go, okay, so while you're changing, how are you staying relevant to the times? Because the times, as that song says, they are a changing. So
Right.
what are you doing to stay relevant and current? And I don't know, I guess maybe it even bears examination. Do you want to be relevant and current? But I think we all do. I think we all.
Yeah, I agree. I think relevance is very, very important today for anybody, whether you're a coach, whether you're in the business of selling shoes or, whatever it is, it's
Right.
about relevance. And I think for especially people that get older, kids today are relevant in their world. It's older people that might have to adapt to change quicker than the younger people. Relevant is, I think, anything you want from taking care of yourself. How do you look? Are you wearing clothes that you've had for 100 years, or have you perked them up with something new and more updated? To how are you running your business? I think as coaches, and you can agree or not, that how are we staying relevant with our clients? What are we doing that's keeping us relevant?
I think that's the key question, really. It's like, by relevance, are you using techniques that you used 2 years ago? If you are, they're probably not relevant. So much has changed, so much adaptations have occurred. And it's so how do you, if we're in our little cocoon and it's slowly coming out now, but we're having winter, and so we're kind of still entrenched in our
Right.
I won't say isolation, but I'll say our aloneness at times. So what do you do to keep relevant? What do you do to keep on top of things when you're trying to help people who are trying to adapt to whatever's going on? How do you make that happen? How do you make that happen, Terry?
I think part of it is, how am I relating to clients? Knowing, as a matter of fact, there was an interesting article in the Times today, how a woman said in the last 2 years, she went from 43 to 60. And she just didn't feel like doing anything. She slogged around in her old clothes and didn't exercise. It's what the pandemic has done to people, in a way, and what has happened. So working with clients, how do you give them a perspective that takes them out of that feeling? What can they do? How am I talking to clients? Maybe it's a little bit different than it was 2-3 years ago. Maybe it's talking more than just looking for something for them, helping them along a little bit more. So that might be something that I do.
It's interesting because at one point, and I'm sure I know you did it too, we were in the process of helping clients make 5-year plans, that is totally irrelevant now. There's no
Mhm.
such thing as a 5-year plan. There may be a 5-day plan. And I
Right.
don't want to be that
Exactly.
person, but maybe a 5-week plan, maybe a 5-month plan. So that's definitely talking different. And I think how you and I have probably adapted when this whole thing started, it was like people were like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm home, the kids are home. It's like, I don't have an office. I don't know how to adapt. And I think most of my clients are over that now. It's like, okay, this is it. And this is how. But then I find that I have some people who are waiting. They're waiting for it to return to normal,
Mm.
waiting for the theater to open. They're waiting for whatever. And that's your privilege. And that doesn't, nobody said you have to be productive all the time. But what I'm finding is that I don't think they're enjoying the waiting. I don't think they're using it productively.
Right.
And I think that's the relevance we're kind of talking about. What do you do with this? I'm going to say gift. What do you do with this gift that you've been given? Slow down time, alone time, contemplation time. What do you do with that? And that's where I'm finding that my clients are now needing some help.
I agree, absolutely. I find that if clients are in the muck and it's talking about the muck, they're not ready to go up here.
Right.
So it's not trying to paint a different picture. Now, maybe it is, but it's meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
And helping them, if that need be, to be where they are, or alternatively, to help them take a step somewhere else that will get them unstuck. Because it's very easy, I think, over these last 2 years to stay stuck, right? The article did talk about people that just did their work remotely, sat on the couch, didn't do much. I found going out and walking, I exercise, not as much as I should, but I'm out. I'm going out to meet people. I'm going to the theater. I'm not allowing myself to stay put. And I think in doing that for myself, it gives me a perspective on working with clients. What's one thing they might be able to do that's relevant? Because I did read another article that today's young people don't know normal, right? The older people remember normal.
Yeah.
And there's no normal anymore.
And I think, as you pointed out, young people adapt much quicker. I mean, look at the kids in school with masks on. You don't hear them complaining. It's the parents that are complaining, but the kids are just playing with their clay and learning their ABCs and whatever else they do in school. And so, yeah, I think it's you're right. That unfortunately, well, that's from an old perspective, but unfortunately, for some of these kids, that will be normal. Unless it slowly starts to slacken off and the masks come off and we resume some of the activities. But I love what you said about meeting the client where they are, because I think that's another form of relevance. It's like my relevance is not your relevance, and my client's relevance is not my relevance.
Right.
So it's like, rather than say, oh, this is relevant and this is where we should be, it's like, this is where you are. Let's see where you'd like to be and how we're going to get there. And in some cases, it even has to go a little deeper. It's like you have to sort of provide the motivation for them to want to go a little further in the game,
Right. So how do you, make kind of a plan that take one small step?
Right.
What's one or two things you could do to help yourself? Maybe it's going for a 10-minute walk.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe it's, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Business goes on.
Oh, goodness. maybe it's,
Maybe it's ignoring everything around you.
I'm trying to ignore.
Just going straight
Um,
through. Yes. That usually happens to me. I just learned finally. I couldn't figure out how to take the
Yeah.
stop the landline. I just took it off
A
the
little
hook.
break, but we're back on track.
Yes, yes, we
Uh,
are.
it's not trying to pull them up. Well,
Mhm.
you should be here,
Right.
right? Maybe it is going for a walk. Maybe it's just going out and getting a cup of coffee. Something that can take them for a half hour, 10 minutes out of where they are. If they've got a project due, what's one thing you can do to get the project going?
Yeah. Yeah.
Relevance for me, and I said this last time I started a podcast, that's relevant for me, to do something different.
I think it's keeping you relevant. I think the podcast is giving you something new to learn, how to operate a podcast,
Exactly.
how to get, I mean, so it's not that the podcast is relevant, it's like the journey, the whole
Right,
experience
that's
is
exactly
like
right.
relevant.
It's the
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
And it's pushing me to my limits.
Yeah.
We get comfortable. Everyone wants to be comfortable today because what's going on is so uncomfortable. So
But you know what? I equate that to comfort clothes. It's like, yeah, it was so cool to wear comfort clothes and we can stay home and take a
Mhm.
shower every other day or whatever else we do,
Right.
wash our hair 2 times a week, whatever.
Right, exactly.
But that gets old and you go, oh, what am I missing? And so in Terry's case, she started a podcast. Yeah.
You're right. I'm being challenged
Mhm.
to something new. And it's scary and uncomfortable, but it's pushing me to different limits.
And I think that's probably great. I'm not sure we were even going to mention that, but I think it's a great idea to do something new, change it up, whatever it is. It's like I have been bemoaning because they closed my walking track, and it was so peaceful and quiet. And it's like, well, get over it. You can sit here and moan about it, or you can. So what I do now is if I'm going for the mail, I'll walk around the block before I get the mail. Or if I'm going, I will walk wherever I'm going because I like to walk. And it's just do something different. You don't have to walk around a track and that doesn't have to be what you're doing. Or try something new. I've been looking at some projects that it's like, well, now's the time to maybe get started on that. And I would also urge, get up from the computer and, make it a requirement. You have to be up every 2 hours and just do something, even if it's clean the bathroom sink, just do something that
Exactly.
gets you from staring at the screen all the time.
Right. I try not to do that. Also, I think, it's Valentine's Day coming up. How can you be good to yourself? It's not
Yeah.
about necessarily being good to somebody else, but what can you do for yourself? I made dinner reservations for Saturday instead of Monday to go to a nice place where I have to get dressed,
Yeah.
and get out. It's what have I done for myself lately? So there's many ways to take care of ourselves, to be relevant, even if it's shaking up how you do your work.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't have to be, obviously we do coaching, but whatever you do, what's one or two things you could change or do differently?
Mhm. And that doesn't mean during coaching. It's like, what lesson could you learn after coaching? It's like, okay, what could you do with the session that you just had? It's not your session, but as we all know, it's impossible to coach other people without learning something yourself. And at times while you're coaching, coach yourself. It's like, oh, I do that too. I got to check that out later. So yeah, I love the self-care. I also think when you're feeling down in the dumps, it's like doing something for somebody else. And And like you said, February is the month of love, it's like, let's spread a little and think of something that you could be doing. I know in my neighborhood, there's a free cupboard where you just put stuff that you don't want and people come along and they take it. And it's like, you could start cleaning out stuff with the thought, like,
Oh, that's
donate
a
your
good
stuff.
idea.
All
Mhm.
those things you haven't worn for 2 years and probably won't
Exactly.
wear again. They've gone out of style or you've just lost
Right.
interest in them.
Right. Be relevant.
Yeah,
Go and take it, get rid of the stuff, whatever they are. Add
right.
something new and interesting and exciting.
Yes.
Because we're not living in exciting times right now.
Well, but no, you're living in exciting times. You're learning all about a podcast. It's like I'm learning my neighborhood, what's closed and what's still open, because
Right.
I'm walking when my mailbox is right downstairs. I'm walking 3 blocks to get it. It's like, okay, I'm finding what's happening in the neighborhood at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. So we're kind of learning. Now, a trap that I was falling into, but I think I caught myself just this week. I was trying to be too relevant. No matter what came across my computer, it was like, oh, okay, I'll sign up for that. And it's like, wait a minute, how many lessons can you learn? How many podcasts can you listen to? How many seminars can you go to? And I finally this week dropped 2 of them, and it was like, oh, okay. I wasn't enjoying them. It was like, oh,
Mm,
but I should be doing this, or a fear of
yeah.
missing out. What if something important gets said and I missed it? I missed it. What are you going to do? So you have to watch that too. It's like, so I took it I felt like I was on my way to taking it to the extreme. And so I think you got to be careful of that too. Yeah.
You don't want to overdo anything, for
No.
sure. And another thing I just thought about are what skills did you accumulate in your career that you haven't used that you can bring forward and dust off? For me, for my podcast, it's about sales and marketing, sales and getting people. So I have to reach out to people I don't know, or, that I knew years ago that I'm reaching out to. I'm just being really bold.
You're
Um,
dusting off those skills that you had long,
Exactly.
long ago.
Marketing, trying to get my podcast up on all the social media platforms and figuring that out, putting a mailing list together. So these were skills that at one time came, like that to me, but I really haven't used them in a while. So
And what you had probably is not relevant now. So now you're getting relevant, learning new skills. So yeah.
or even those skills, which could be relevant, it's just dusting them off and
Exactly.
realizing, okay, maybe I need to use them in a different way.
Yeah.
So
Because times are different. It's like, I think probably when you were doing marketing, what was a podcast? Nobody knew what that was,
right,
it's like that was not
exactly.
popular at all, but now it's the hot thing to do. So how do you market something new? And that could be fun. And I think that what's probably most important is not what you succeed at, but what you uh, don't succeed at. I hate to say fail, but what lessons can you learn? It's like, okay, that didn't work. So now what do I have to do? Do I
Right.
need to take another seminar, or do I need to figure this out? So I think, it's just being, if you look at it all as like a big learning experience rather than a pass or fail, it's like, well, what can I be learning? At least my brain is working. At least I'm using my
Right.
brain to get me where I
Exactly.
want to go.
Exactly. What can I learn? What came out, instead of woe is me with this pandemic, what have I learned about myself?
Yeah.
How did I get through it? What inner strengths and challenges did I come across that I could meet and call upon? So it's a lot of learning if one would open the lens
Mm.
and really look at this experience and what were the challenges.
One thing that I have some of my clients do when they're kind of like in that, muck, right, like you say, in the muck and the mire, is just write down what you've accomplished in the last 2 years, what you've changed, what you adapted to, what you let go, that's important too, to just not cling on and go, oh, I want this. I want this. I'm waiting for Broadway to open up again. No, let it go. It's not open, or it is open now, but it wasn't.
Right.
So get over it.
Right.
And just have them do that. And it's really eye-opening when you go, oh my gosh, I'm a survivor. They're a survivor. We've all made it through so far, and with more lessons and adventures on the way. But I think when you have, well, you can do it on your own. You don't need a coach to do that. You can just sit down and go, wow, where was I 2 years ago, and where am I now? What did I learn? What I do again, and what wouldn't I do again? And just that will make you, as we're saying, more relevant, because you're up to date. You're up to date on yourself, and
Right.
that's a hard one.
I think it has to start there. You
Yeah,
have to be relevant with yourself.
yeah.
And whatever way that is, to reach out and be relevant with others and help others be more relevant.
And that comes back into the love aspect. It's like, you got to love yourself enough to say, okay, I'm going to give a little grace here. It's been a rough 2 years, but look what I did. And then turn around and help somebody else do that. Turn around and point out when someone's having a rough day. Yeah, but look what you did. Look at
Exactly.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
I just did that with a client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so needed now. And I'm not sure clients even wanted to pay for that 2 or 3 years ago. They wanted a straightforward path. I want to get
Right.
here. I want to get here. And how do I do that?
That's
Now,
different.
now it's more,
Different.
I don't want to say talky-feely, but it's more emotional intelligence. Let's say that.
The conversation has shifted.
Yes, definitely.
People, authentic, kind, vulnerable. This has put everyone in a vulnerable state.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and that's a tough one. People go out of their way not to feel vulnerable. People hate it.
Yeah.
But this is where we are. How do you turn it into a strength?
And I keep talking about blessings of the pandemic, and I think that you just pointed out something. I think that might be another one. Suddenly, nobody wanted to be vulnerable, but suddenly we all are. It's like, whoa, we're all, and the old catchphrase that we're all in this together. But it was like we were all subject to fear and unknowns and health matters that we never thought about before. And the vulnerability is the connection. I really think about your friends. Do you want to hang with somebody who knows everything and has everything together and doesn't need any help? I don't. I like the humanity of it all.
Right,
I want to know somebody who knows what I'm talking about when I go, oh, and I start moaning. I want them to know what I'm talking about,
Right.
So I think the vulnerability might have been a blessing, in disguise, of course, because we weren't feeling blessed as we were walking around scared to death. But I think it might have been a blessing of the pandemic.
Right. A lot goes along with vulnerability. It's being authentic. It's stripping away, which we all had to do, right, over the last couple of years. And that's what's wanted and needed in the world today.
Yes.
Whether you're a coach, whether you're in the world of business, not that we're not, but a leadership is all about that. The soft skills.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think where once we were led by our heads, it's like, okay, these are the plans, this is the route. Now I think it's more head, heart, and gut. It's like a lot of people by their head, they were saying, I've got New York City's the place to be. This is the world, the city of the world, and this is where my career is going to advance, and I need to be here. And then when the pandemic came, it was like, that's not what my heart is telling me. My heart's telling me I want to be closer to family. I want to be in a quiet place. I want whatever. And they listen to their heart. And the same with the gut. It's like you kind of know when something's not working for you. And I think maybe that's the job of coaches too, to just bring awareness to those three aspects of everybody, the head, heart, and the gut.
Exactly, very much so. I totally agree. And again, it's what's wanted and needed now. And
Yeah.
that's what has started this whole great resignation, great, the rethinking, reimagining, reconsidering. It's taken people, whoa, what do I really want? And that's part of what's going on.
And I think what always happens when life is threatened, and it certainly has been, you start to realize, or you suddenly realize, hey, this isn't so important to me, but this is,
Right.
and I should be spending more time over here and not here. And I'm not sure. I think that might be the biggest adaptation that businesses have to make. It's like you've got to allow some room for that heart and that gut. It's good to get MBAs who know the path, but we're all struggling with all kinds of things, and to get a team together and a team that wants to work together.
Right.
I think that's where the challenge in business lies, but opening it up so more can enter. Yeah.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah. So what we've been doing with our clients is listening, a lot of listening, and then a lot of, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, Terry, a lot of meeting them where they are, because who are we to judge? I mean, we used to think
Mhm.
that, but at some point, I always thought I knew all the answers. Then I was for coaching. I'm like,
Right.
oh, I know nothing. Okay, got it. That's it. I'm open for learning. But I think that's what we've been doing: listening, learning, and now we're into expanding. It's like, okay, we all know we've survived, So now what do we do with it? What do we do with these new skills that we have, these new survival skills that maybe we didn't need before, but we sure need them now? How do we adapt them to make us happy, make us healthy, make us wealthy, whatever that goal is? And that's staying relevant is important for the coach, but it's also important for the client. So that's what we're gonna keep doing. Find ways to stay relevant. We got 30 seconds, Terry. What you wanna let them know?
Happy Valentine's month. Happy
Black
heart.
History Month.
Yes, whatever else, and figure out how to be relevant. In the end, it will be rewarding.
Definitely rewarding, and expand your definition. It's like relevant. Relevant doesn't mean you got the latest style.
Exactly.
I don't think we all have any of that now. So relevant is what's going to make you happy. That's what's relevant, and that's what you should be working on. And that's what we're going to be working on. And
We are.
see you guys.
Take care. See you next month.
Bye, Terry.
Bye.